So Pocket Pair just released the most insane update I've ever heard in gaming history on an early access game. What's good, guys? We're gonna jump straight into this. I'm gonna throw some background of me just messing around in this game, farming up some legendary schematics and what have you. But let's talk about these patch notes. First things first, this is a Steam patch 0.1.5.0 and Xbox patch 0.1.5.0 as well. It's pretty good that they're actually they're the same this time around. That's kind of awesome. It was getting kind of annoying trying to say two, but let's just move straight into it. So the patch notes are as follows. The major fixes: implemented backup of save data on the world selection screen. 1. Resolved issues of unnecessary data accumulating in a save data. That's absolutely awesome. You can never go wrong with that. They added fully supported keyboard key configurations. Shout out to mouse and keyboard. Guild. They modified specifications to allow guild members to be removed when not logged in. Now, I wasn't on any other server or the multiplayer game servers, so I have no idea how that goes, but that sounds like it's gonna come in pretty clutch. Players issues. Now, this right here is where things get interesting. They changed the long press operation during player tasks to allow continuous work by pressing the work button only once. This is actually switchable in the option settings, which is just quality of life and absolutely awesome. They fixed an issue where riding in a prohibited hunting area would not result in a crime. Now, on a personal tip, I don't know how I feel about this. The whole crime deal in this game to me is kind of trivial because currently the enemies will just spawn directly on top of you. I'll put some B-roll of this up right now. But like when you commit a crime on one of these sites, they literally spawn on top of your character. So you could be in the middle of the ocean and they'll just spawn on top of you. Now, if they can come up with a better mechanic on how these enemies spawn around the character, then maybe I won't be so against this whole crime mechanic. But as of right now, I don't really know how I feel about this. I guess I have to see how it is in patch and, you know, how it's going to be adjusted and or what it's going to be doing in the future, but we'll see what happens here. They improved interaction accuracy with adjacent objects, which is pretty interesting. Pals. So this is where things get kind of cool. They changed specifications so that when a pal is instructed to attack aggressively, the pal will attack enemies indiscriminately, even if they are not in combat. That's gonna be clutch. Like, I feel like that should have already been a thing, but I guess it wasn't working as intended, so that's awesome that they changed that. They corrected an issue to allow pals of rank 1 or higher to be selected as concentrated material. Higher rank pals yield more points when concentrated. Now, this is another quality of life thing that I'm really glad that they added, because having a pal and then having like a level 2 or 3 pal and then condensing it and it doesn't like increase the concentration further just didn't really make sense to me. So this is another great quality of life change. They fixed a bug where if a large amount of experience points was gained, the level increased to 50 at once. Pals would not learn any active skills. I never knew that was a thing, but that sounds like it was an extreme problem. Mitigated an issue where using Mossanda's partner skill, Grenader Panda, on a dungeon boss would cause the boss to get stuck in the walls. So when it comes to dungeons, I don't know if I'm going to have some B-roll up on the screen or not. But right now, it's a love-hate relationship. When I pull up on a dungeon right now, there's certain dungeons that just straight crash for me. Usually, I get the initial, okay, you started a dungeon for the first time crash. And then after that, I'm able to at least progress the dungeon all the way to the boss. But most of the level 45 and higher dungeons in this game, if I even try to attempt them and I go on a certain route, the game just insta-crashes as soon as I get to a certain point in the dungeon. If there's like a certain type of enemy in the dungeon that uses an effect or anything like that, the game crashes. So I feel like this whole dungeon mechanic needs to be kind of reworked, as well as the whole crime mechanic. Those are two things that are really just bugging me for a little bit, but we'll see what happens And I'll definitely test this a little bit to see if dungeons have been improved on. But since it's not mentioned here, that leaves me to say that it might not have been. Base issues. Now, there's a whole lot of stuff going on here, so let's talk on it. They fixed an issue where base pals would get stuck on the roof of logging sites, etc. That's awesome. Like, pals get stuck on anything and everything in this game, so just having that fixed at all is hand clap to Pocket Pair for that one. Added measures to prevent the issue where base pals would wander around and get stuck on the border of the base area. This was so annoying. There was so many times where Anubises would just go straight brain dead, and they would stand on the outside of the base and just not do anything. Like, they would actually leave the base and just stand there. And it's like, what are they doing? So it's kind of cool that they actually figured this out and addressed it. Fixed an issue where the pals at the base would get stuck repeatedly starting transportation task, and the light bulb icon would appear over their head over and over again. Yep, I've seen that before, but I think that this was already adjusted in the last update. Like, it didn't happen to my pals as much, but there are certain pals, like I want to say his name is Wumpo. A lot of the transportation pals in the game, they get stuck hella easily for the weirdest reasons, so this is a great fix to those pals. Adjusted the default work priority of base pals, so Anubis will prioritize manual labor. I don't know what that means exactly. They will prioritize manual labor. I hope that doesn't mean the logging site. So hopefully they get Anubis to get off the logging site, because they'll sit, or not the logging site, it's the stone pit. Because Anubises would just sit there and slap the stone pit for ages. You have to delete the stone pit for it even to do anything else on the base. So hopefully that's what this means. We'll have to put that into a little bit of testing and find out. Significantly relaxed building restrictions for stairs and triangular roofs. Fixed an issue where sound would play in an infinite loop when pals at a base use certain active skills. So this, I was going to make a video about this. I've already made a video about this on how to fix it. So apparently it looks like Pocket Pair was aware of this as an issue, and they actually have fixed it. However, the problem with this is it's not just an action or a skill in a loop, but it's actually outside of bases as well. So that has me very curious. There were certain times in the game where water pals would use their water passives or their skills or whatever you call them, and it would just infinitely go into a loop, and it would be a noise in that section of the game where they actually did that skill. And the only way for you to actually delete that sound from the game is to restart the game and turn off sound effects and do all of these things just to get rid of the sound in general. So I'm curious to find out if this only fixed it for the base pals, or does it actually fix it for all the pals in the game? We'll have to just test it and find out. Specifications changed so that all changes in environmental temperatures are added up. If you put 4 campfires next to each other, the surrounding area will have the temperature of a volcano. Now that makes a lot of sense, and I thought that's originally how it was supposed to work. And it didn't, because there were so many times when I was trying to like warm up one of my eggs and you just couldn't do it because you didn't have enough fire or whatever the case may be. So it's good to know that they have this working as intended now. Implemented relax working style on the monitoring stand. And they also have a follow-up about this later on, so we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. Balance adjustments. Significantly strengthened mining power of Digtoise partner skill. I was literally thinking about making a Digtoise is king video, because there is certain things that you can do to make your Digtoise the best miner in the game in its current state, but they have already addressed it and fixed his partner skill, which was apparently broken. Fixed the abnormally high selling price of nails. So I guess the nail glitch is no longer a thing. I wasn't doing it because it's just completely unnecessary. especially when you turn up like loot drops and you take those loots from the bosses and you sell them back to, you know, different merchants. It's just not necessary. But yeah, that's something that's been adjusted. Significantly increase the numbers of police officers who appear when a crime is committed. Now, this is completely unnecessary. There's no reason for this. Like, significantly increasing the number of them that appear. They already appear on top of you, and they're already annoying enough as it is. Like, the only time that I've ever really encountered the police officers in this game was when you go to the sanctuary and you're trying to hunt the legendary pals. And there's a lot of legendary pals over there that you want to actually hunt and get your hands on. So it's kind of annoying that they just made that officially impossible for you to hunt those pals without getting in trouble now and or suffering heavy consequences, because it's impossible to lose them. Like, you literally have to fly away to a specific area and then try to hide or stay out of sight, but they can appear directly on top of you, so it's almost impossible to do so. I figured out this one way, that if you go to a boss area, for example, like one of the marketeers in the game, if you go over to them, you can hide behind them, and for some reason the police officers just won't get into a certain radius of those types of pals. So that was one thing that I did the other day to avoid them, but it's really annoying. So yeah, if you go to a black marketer, you can actually like hide behind them and they won't go near the black marketer. I was actually trying to get them to like accidentally shoot the black marketer and then the black marketer go into combat with them, and that might save me. I thought that might work, but they just don't get near it in general. So it actually was, you know, a win-win for me. But let's keep it moving. They added electric shock effect to Free Pal Alliance crossbows. That is okay. That's going to be great now. Adjusted the flight distance of sphere launcher and scatter field launchers. Okay, cool. I'll take that. Increase the sanity value recovery amount for high quality hot springs. That seems to come in extremely clutch and definitely a needed aspect of the game. Network related. Renovated the server lobby. Shout out to everybody who's on the multiplayer game servers and just enjoying the game with your friends. This is all for you. They also have a search by server name will now work. That sounds pretty awesome. They added the ability to view online players on a dedicated server. Online community servers, this will only be displayed if the setting is enabled. Makes sense. Others. They fixed an issue where the day 5 memo was not placed. You can now adjust the in-game brightness in settings. They fixed many minor bug issues. They corrected various in-game text. They improved measures against cheating. And they also state here, we are currently working on an issue where autosave fails on the Xbox and Xbox Game Pass versions of the game. We expect this will be resolved in the upcoming update. And then they also added on, with the implementation of Relax work mode on the monitoring stand, the default work state of all bases where a monitoring stand has already been placed is now set to relax. As a result, the work speed of pals at the base is on slow. We apologize for the inconvenience, but please change the work mode for the monitoring stand. There is also an issue where pals created through breeding retain their passives. We plan to roll back this change as soon as possible. And that is the brand new patch for Palworld. So just going on my personal thoughts, I'm not too excited about the crime, the increase in the amount of police officers who actually chase you, and them being more aggressive just seems kind of a bit much. But we'll just have to like play the game and wait and see, because maybe they fixed the AI, maybe they don't spawn directly on top of you anymore. If that's the case, then it's a pretty cool patch and I like the sound of it. But if they're still going to be appearing right on top of you and it's just going to be a lot more of them, then it's going to make committing crimes and or just farming anything in the sanctuary areas just not a smart idea. Because they didn't specifically mention these next couple of bugs that I've encountered in my game, I'm kind of nervous. The teleport location that's in the top right, it doesn't even work. That is the closest place that you can actually get to in order to fly over to the sanctuary, and it's just not a thing. So that's still broken. I want to check that as soon as this patch drops to see if they fixed it. It doesn't state that they fixed it, so I'm kind of nervous that they didn't. I'm pretty sure they haven't fixed falling through the map, because they didn't even mention that at all. And I'm also nervous on whether or not the game is still going to crash like crazy every time you enter into a dungeon. When I go into certain places in the game flickers. For example, when I go to the monastic like mine shaft location, the game flickers like crazy. And there's just, because they didn't necessarily mention it, I'm kind of nervous that it's never going to be fixed at this point, or at least not in the current state of the game. With that being said, if you like what we do here in the channel, make sure you smash that like button and sub to the channel so that you don't miss out on any more tips, tricks, guides, updates, and a whole lot more for Palworld in the future. This was your boy Emma, M Sage D. For now, I'm out of here.